Hi, everybody. This is Tammy Bosley, principal of William Pecos Old Post Road Elementary School. So happy that you're able to join us this evening. We're just going to give a couple minutes for everyone to get logged in before we get started. Okay, it is almost 7:02, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is our first virtual family engagement event of the school year, and we're going to tell you about many more that we're going to have from now until January 22nd virtually to do our best to stay in close communication with you and give you as much support as we possibly can through this virtual learning experience. So before we get started with the presentation, I wanted to take a moment to show you the faces of the people that will be supporting the presentation this evening. So I will put their faces up for you as I introduce them and let them say hello to everyone out there joining us. Right, first this evening we have Katie Scharf. Katie is the assistant principal at the Old Post Road building. That's our building that services students from pre-K to second grade. We have with us tonight Mr. Ronald Stump. Ron is the assistant principal for building, and that building services students in grades 3, 4, and 5. And I'm happy to introduce to you a new administrator at our building. Mrs. Marianne Clinton is servicing as an assistant principal in both buildings this school year. She'll flip back and forth like I do, and she's an assistant principal split between our school and Norrisville Elementary. So we welcome her to our staff. Our next presenter this evening is Brittany Godfrey. Brittany is joining us from Riverside Elementary School, and she is in the position of Title I Teacher Specialist. So as you get all of the updates on our social media and our websites, this is the face behind that name, Brittany, that's posting and working really hard to try and keep everyone as informed as we can. We also have with us this evening a familiar face for you, Mrs. Andrea Walker is with us this evening. Mrs. Walker has served in many roles at William Pecos Old Post Road Elementary School, including being a third and fourth grade teacher, then moving to a resource intervention position. And this year, Mrs. Walker is focused on math specialist. She is a math specialist, so focused on supporting math instruction for our students and teachers. We also have a familiar face for you, Mrs. Mary Cahoe, formerly known as Mrs. Mary Anderson, who has been with us at William Pecos. She taught first grade. Last year, she was a mentor teacher. This year, Mrs. Cahoe is focusing on early childhood. She is an early childhood specialist for our school. So her main support will go to students K through second grade, although she's more than willing to help with grades 3, 4, and 5 as well. And finally, we have Miss Tanya Chandler, who is joining us from Use Benefit Elementary School this year, and we're really happy to have her. She is a literacy specialist and oversees and supports our reading specialist, Miss Lauren Hunter and Miss Jessica Hamill, with reading instruction for our students and professional development for our teachers. So I welcome all you all. Thank you for joining us and helping to support this first family engagement evening. All right, everyone, I am going to take my face off the screen for now, and I'm going to work really hard to share my screen with you, and I'm going to wait for one of the co-presenters to let me know that my PowerPoint slide is let me see. I don't think. Bear with me, guys. Okay. And at this point, my hope is that you can see our opening slide that says William Paco Old Post Road Elementary School Family Engagement Event number 1. Can someone, one presenter, give me a verbal yes if everyone can see that?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, so our focus this evening, parents, I know that you have so many questions. We understand that. We have some answers for you. We don't have all of the answers, but this evening we're going to be focusing on how do I prepare for the upcoming school year, with some questions that are still not answered. We will have time at the end that you will be able to go in and enter some questions, and you can even enter those throughout the presentation. And you won't be able to see what you enter as questions, but you can post those and we'll get to as many as we can because we will be able to see them at the end of the session. So again, I want to come back to, I know you have questions. The one guarantee that I can give you as we go into this school year is that we are very prepared. March 13th last year came out of nowhere, obviously for our entire world, and those were tough times, and we were kind of building the airplane in flight. That's no longer the case. Our teachers have been working nonstop all summer to prepare for quality instruction, the best we can possibly give virtually to your students, to your children, to our children, to make this year as successful as possible. So that's the one guarantee that I can give you going into this school year. I wanted to go over this slide, and as we do our family engagement events, I will come back to this slide each time because I do think it's important to go through these bullets so that everyone is very aware of the process. We are live and we are recorded at this time from the very start. No one can see your faces or hear your voices. We may use your name if you ask a question, and that would be the only time that your name would be announced. Okay. Please, the third bullet says, please expect there will be a lag in the video. So as I'm speaking, you're getting my voice a couple seconds behind. So that's why I waited to make sure everyone could see our screen, because there is a bit of a lag when you do a live presentation. Apparently that's the case when you do things on TV as well, but I've never been on TV, so this is new to me. The next bullet says you're going to have an ongoing opportunity to submit questions. So if you have questions in your mind already before we start this presentation, please go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. And if we present things to you that make you think of additional questions, kind of just type those in as we go along. And like I said, we will get to as many of those as we possibly can. And ones that we can't get to, we will answer in a document when we send out this video recording for those that weren't able to attend the live meeting. So that's what the next bullet talks about. Links to the live meeting will probably come out the day after each meeting, so we have an opportunity to download them and save them and then put them out on our social media sites as well as our school website page. Right. I'm going to turn over the presentation at this point to Ms. Godfrey so that she can go through this slide with you.
All right, good evening, families. This graphic I'm sure you've seen on our social media sites, and this kind of just lays out our family engagement plan for the duration of virtual learning. We want to make sure we're connected with you as much as possible and meeting the needs of our families virtually the best we can. So this is a plan that we put together throughout the summer. We've been working super hard on ways to stay connected with you. Obviously, we're right at the beginning of the timeline tonight, this evening, and our topic is how are we going to prepare ourselves for this upcoming school year? And as you follow the flow of the timeline, you can notice that there's 2 nights that we have listed as to be determined. And that's the case because we're really interested in feedback that we can get back from families to then turn into something that's useful for you. So if you have concerns in a specific area, there's going to be times throughout this school year for you to make those concerns known. That way we can address those for you specifically. Each of these nights that we've planned, our family engagement meetings, have a specific purpose. And each of those are listed within the timeline boxes, as you can see. So I don't want to read them all to you, but this is kind of like a heads up of what's coming for you. And that way, if you do have concerns that lay outside of what's listed already, you're able to communicate those to us. And that could be done through the social medias that Mrs. Bosley was speaking of. That could be done through any communication you have with any staff member. That could be done through your child's classroom teacher. They're able to report to us to let us know what they're seeing, what they're hearing, any problems they're having as well, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're doing what's very best for our students. And just, I want to make sure that everyone has knowledge of our social media sites as well. This is kind of just a little side note. We have our Facebook page running, our school website, our Instagram page, and even Twitter running that has all of our updates. And I've been trying to keep the Remind app up to date as well too. So there's plenty of platforms for you to reach out to us if needed, and we will do our absolute best to meet your needs the best we can. And then if you have any questions for me or any Title I questions, you can pop them in the chat for that Q&A session later this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Godfrey. Mrs. Sharp, our assistant principal at Old Post Road, is going to continue to open us up for the focus of our discussion this evening.
Good evening, PECA families. I miss everybody, and I hope everybody is doing well. We cannot wait to see everyone next week when you come to pick up your child or children's materials Tuesday through Thursday. We are missing everyone and can't wait till we can get back to some normalcy. That is for sure. So that kind of leads into what we really wanted to focus on this evening, just because we ended school so abruptly last year in March. We really didn't get to say goodbye. The end of the school year was definitely not the same as it usually is. And, you know, although we have been keeping in constant communication with all of you through different platforms, we definitely want to take some time to reflect on how our school year ended and what we can do to prepare our children for this coming school year learning virtually, or if they are deciding to come to a learning center. Ms. Bosley, oh, there you go. So the first thing, and I think about, you know, reflection is always so good because we can think back to what has happened and what we can do to maybe make things better. We can think about what went really well and continue with those approaches or strategies or structures, or maybe we are going to reflect and think about what didn't go so well and we're not going to do them again. I know that I am reflecting about the way that I handled and my own going into second grader handled the whole at-home virtual learning from March until June this past school year. So, you know, I think what's really important is you want to talk to your child or children about how the school year ended. What did you like? What didn't you like? And what do you hope for? And put those things out there for them to express, so then that way you know how to make this a lot easier, not only for them, but yourself as well. We're all just doing our best. Ask them to share what they enjoyed and what were struggles. So what was really easy and exciting and engaging for them? Was it the little area you set up for them? Was it a specific way that the teacher communicated? Was it the way that you supported and helped them through their learning? and what did they struggle with? And please make sure that you communicate with your child's teacher when they do reach out to you tomorrow evening of what your child did struggle with and what they were excited and enjoyed, because that's going to really support them. The other thing that you want to do is plan socializing. What is happening? Plan socializing opportunities. You're going to want to establish virtual and face-to-face socialization opportunities with family and friends, especially those that you have been interacting with during this COVID quarantine. You want to provide offline playing and interactions. I know as a parent, I am trying to get Caleb to do things non-virtual as much as possible, because they start to lose that feeling of social interaction and wanting to be face-to-face. They're so engulfed in that screen time, and we don't want that to be the all-time activity that they're invested in. Set play days or dates with those whom you have maintained appropriate social distancing with, whether it be a family member, a cousin, a friend, etc., a neighbor. Continue those structures and schedules. And then just embed interactive play opportunities throughout the day. When it's break time, it's break time. It's not time to watch a show. It's not, let them get up and move, interact and play with their toys, with whatever is around the house. Let them go outside, and that will continue to keep them moving. I'm going to pass it on to Mrs. Clinton to continue our presentation.
Thanks, Ms. Scharf. So parents, something that you can do to help your student have a successful start to the school year, especially for those students that are going to be at home for learning, is to designate a learning space with your child. And you can see some of the pictures that are up here on the screen right now. These are just some examples to kind of give you a visual idea of what we're talking about with this designated space. Some suggestions we have to help make this space conducive to learning for students would be to find a spot that does not have a lot of distractions in your house. The more that the kiddos can focus in on the instruction, obviously the better. Another point to consider would be what is comfortable, right? If it's a chair that fits the desk well, or even if it's just a chair that's comfortable for your son or daughter, that would be the route to go. You want to establish a space that is big enough that you can have materials moved around. So most of the kiddos are going to be on devices, so they'll need that device, but then they might also need a workspace. They might be doing a math problem or filling in a graphic organizer. So you're going to want to just kind of keep that in mind as you're setting up this space. Another suggestion is to have an area around this space, within the space, where you can hang visuals and resources. And kind of along those lines, it would be something, maybe the daily schedule gets to be posted, maybe there's some reminders, a calendar. Those are all things that are up in classrooms. And so that would be, if you had any specific questions to ask the teachers whenever you get a chance to talk to them, they could probably give you some more direction, because there are different visuals at different grade levels that would be appropriate. But these are just all things for you to start to consider, because the better prepared that space is, the better prepared your son or daughter is, and then the more successful they will be. Something else to think about is a spot where you can get consistent access to the internet. And most importantly, involve your son or daughter in these decisions as much as you possibly can. If they own that space, they will want to work in that space. So maybe let them pick out the chair. Maybe let them pick out a visual to hang. Something like that that will make them own that learning space. And then we also would like to talk about, Ms. Scharf mentioned this, breaks are super important. It's something that you kind of maybe don't think so much about, but it's important to their processing through new information and to get that blood flowing and to allow them time to almost decompress too. So I was thinking about this as we were preparing for this presentation. You know, when kiddos, they walk to the school bus and then they walk into the school building. and then they're walking to their classroom. So even before their day starts, they've done a decent amount of walking. And while that can't happen when they're at home with you, anytime that you can just kind of get them moving around the house, that will give them that opportunity for that exercise and that movement. There will be some breaks that will be built into the schedule when the teachers share them with you. But if ever during the day you're sensing, you know your child best, and if you're ever sensing that your child needs a break outside of some direct instruction time, definitely allow them to take that break. And then also too, like we mentioned, we want them to get outside and play when it is safe and when it is available for them. So it might even be something that you try to build into their day. There might be time around lunch where there's not instruction going on and they're not doing any work. That might be a good time to establish some outside play, because kids learn through play and they get to do it every day at school. They have recess. So just kind of keep that in mind once you see the daily schedule where you think you can incorporate some breaks for your son or daughter. And the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Chandler.
I'm super excited to be with everyone tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. In addition to that play time and that time that they're spending moving around, that time that they're doing the game time is super important as well. So learning occurs through whole group, through small group, through independent time, through play time, and through game time. And so math and reading games become really important in the classroom and therefore at home as well. Not only is it important for their social development, but also for their intellectual development. And so the time that they can spend working with manipulatives, playing games on boards or paper, any of those sorts of things, allowing them to practice their math skills, their reading skills, is perfect. And so game ideas will come from your child's teacher and grade level, but anything that is appropriate for your child in terms of working with your family is great as well. So your child was encouraged in the springtime to develop some sort of passion project, and we really would love for them to have that passion project again. It's a huge motivator and something that allows your child to have that creative outlet and be able to be in charge of their own learning. And so we're thinking of projects around photography or drawing, research, gardening, painting, journaling, anything that your child thrives with or is interested in becomes that passion project. So it can be something, Star Wars, or something around a book series. Mary Pope Osborne is a favorite author, then it goes around there, and they gather that list of activities that they can do around that particular topic. They can research, they can journal. It supports, those passion projects support their reading, their writing, their math, and as well as their language and that communication piece. So they have opportunities to share with each other, share with the family, and really be engaged in their own choice learning. And then finally, as Ms. Scharf mentioned before, we're here for you. So you're going to check in with your child about the things that were positive and the things that you would have improved in the spring, but you're also going to, as we begin, spend time with your child about what they're feeling right now, and encourage that journaling or that drawing to support what maybe they're not verbalizing, or just to, even if they are verbalizing, to give them that outlet, that additional outlet. And then, as Ms. Scharf said earlier, please reach back out to children's teachers, to your child's teacher, just because we want to provide that same support on our end of things. If your child is excited about learning, we want to know that. If they're struggling with something, we want to know that too. And we also want to know how they're progressing at home. And we have systems in place and people in place to be supportive and to offer encouragement, as well as strategies when we, in order to support success in learning from home. I'm going to pass it on to, I believe, Ms. Cahoe.
Hi, everyone. We're so happy to connect with you tonight. And lastly, before we answer our questions, we just wanted to take a moment to breathe and to relax. Just like Mrs. Chandler said, we're all in this together. Right now, this is our first family engagement event, so we threw a lot at you. It's very new to you and new to us. And just remember that we are a team in this, and we have your back 100%. And there will be flunders on both sides, but we are happy to breathe together and to relax and to make it through. So as we know, our young children are watching us at every move. So they're watching to see what happens when our technology fails and if we get frustrated, or what happens when we can't get something to work. So if we take that time to pause and breathe and model what we do at that time, it will help us all. So as teachers, as staff, we're learning to do that right now with each other, and we hope to model that for you. We also encourage taking it one day at a time. We felt like that this summer of, okay, we need to figure out what's happening in the future, and just know that we are here and we are ready to communicate everything that we can. And we hope that these family engagement nights will really be that help for you to relax, to breathe, to feel comfortable with us and with communicating. And then another thing to do that we have shared on our YouTube and our Facebook is to create a space in your home for your student so that they feel like they can rest their mind. There's been a lot of studies on Zoom fatigue and on being through technology all of the time, and we have spent a lot of time this summer thinking about our social emotional support, how we can support wellness, and we've really put together a lot of plans for our synchronous and asynchronous learning that can support students who go through that feeling of distance learning and make sure that our social needs are being met. So we want to make sure they have that space at home too, to turn their mind off and relax and feel comfortable. But just remember, at all times, we are here for you. We are in this together, and we absolutely love our families. So I'm going to turn it over next.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron Stump, the assistant principal over in the PECO building, grades 3, 4, and 5. Just wanted to thank all of our presenters this evening, and we know that as we've gone through that there might be some questions that you all may have, but before we get to that, I truly want to thank all of you, each and every one of you, for being here tonight and for joining us and for advocating for your children and simply making education a priority. I think that's great, and that really shows that it's going to be very easy for us to team up together and to work together and get through this together and make it the best transition that we possibly can. So I just want to thank you for making it a priority and giving it the time to be here and to see what we can do to help you out along the way as well. So thank you for that. You have been given a lot of information on this first night here. As they were speaking before, there's probably about 10 sessions or so that we'll have for this family engagement. So if we weren't able to answer it tonight, which we'll get to some here, we will be able to cover it hopefully by the third meeting, which is going to be September 23rd for our family engagement. So as stakeholders, you are very important to us. We value your thoughts and your opinion. So we definitely want to know what kind of things will we can be able to work together and answer your questions for. So Miss Andrea Walker has been working and taking a look in the chat about some questions. Ms. Walker, have you been able to see any questions down in the chat that maybe we can address this evening?
I have. So the questions are listed in the Q&A section. So we already have several questions submitted. We're going to get started with those. If you'd like to share your questions, make sure you put your name in them so that we know who to get back to if we want to continue to give you some more information. Our first questions come from several people, and we're going to ask Ms. Bosley this question. I think she's going to help us out with this. Several parents have received notifications saying there's a chance that they won't be getting Chromebooks or laptops this year. OPR is saying that we're picking up our Chromebooks next week. Which one of those messages should we listen to, Ms. Bosley?
That's a really good question, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a few moments because when I'm speaking to you, I'd really like for you to be able to see my face. So as we respond, I'm going to ask whoever's responding, I'm going to go ahead and put your face on there so that you can be seen. We are, as you know, another survey came out from the county today that they were asking to be completed by tomorrow. We are still short on technology. Originally, I had sent out and we had posted that all of our school and all Title I schools, grades K through 5 would receive some type of device to be used at home. I am waiting to see if there is a change in that, and we will definitely post that information. I do want to reiterate, I have been reading, a lot of the comments and a lot of the things that are being posted, and I know there's a level of frustration for the Chromebooks that were ordered from the county did not come in. I just want to keep putting it in perspective that was not a delayed order that our county put in. It was put in immediately when we knew we were going to be going virtual. And unfortunately, during that immediate time, counties all over the United States and really all over the world were putting in the exact same order. So we are not alone with our shortage. The good news is the second shipment to complete our order is due to be in mid-October or sooner. So even for those, if the shortage of computers does end up impacting Title I schools, and I do not know the answer to that yet, we will have all of our computers by mid-October is what we've recently been told through Dell.
Thank you, Ms. Bosley. I hope that answers Ms. Mosby's question.
Hi, Ms. Mosby.
The next question I'm going to throw out to Ms. Cahoe. Ms. Cahoe, Ms. Palmer asks, how can she help the kindergarten team? She is ready and willing to assist teachers. Who is it best to reach out to?
Ms. Cahoe, can you put your video on and I'll share your face when you answer? There you go.
Hello. Thanks, Ms. Palmer, for your question, and we are so happy that you are willing and able to help us with volunteers. As you know, classes will be assigned soon, so you'll be getting that information, and then we'll be in contact with your child's teacher. So teachers will have some sort of way for you to help out in all sorts of ways. It will be a little different this year because right now with the learning centers, we are not having volunteers into the building, but there will definitely be ways that we can have you help out, and we'll be in contact with that once we know teachers, and I would encourage you to pass that on to your teacher because she will love that too.
All right, also talking about the learning support centers, a question comes in. Are students required to attend the Learning Support Center every day, or can they choose a part-time schedule to allow other students to attend?
Ms. Walker, I can address that question as well. I apologize if you put it to someone else, but I didn't hear you if you did. we can't share a schedule with between several students, even 2 students. That's a great suggestion, and it would be wonderful if we would be able to do that, but the cross-contamination of the materials that students are using while in the Learning Center, and just cross-contamination between groups, if we mix groups up, puts us at a much higher risk. So if you know your child is signed up for the Learning Center, then we are truly expecting them Monday through Friday to attend the Learning Center. If you have decided that the Learning Center is not going to work for your family, or you've made other arrangements, you can certainly email the school, email myself or another administrator, or call the school, and we will take you off the list, which could potentially free up a spot for someone else. So good question. Thank you for asking.
Everyone, we have several questions that have to do with what learning will look like this year, either synchronous or asynchronous learning. The first question from Ms. Mosby is, will students use a different link for each class time or one link for the entire day? We can start with Ms. Chandler, but if anyone has any information about this question that they'd like to jump in and share, I'm sure she would be okay with that.
I would absolutely be okay with that. The links that will come to the students will be through their It's Learning platform. And so they will log on to their It's Learning platform each day, and the link to that day's synchronous sessions will be in that content area. So when they log on to It's Learning, they have to choose their reading class, and then inside their reading class there will be a link for that reading time. When they come to math class, they're going to go to a different It's Learning page because it's a different content area, and there will be a link there. So each time they link in, they're going to use the link that's provided right on the front of their overview page or right in their playlist on Fridays that connects them straight to those meetings. But the link will always be found on their It's Learning page of that current content area.
Thank you. Also a question about It's Learning. Will Friday asynchronous classes be recorded from classes Monday through Thursday, or be different material? And that can either go to Ms. Cahoe or Ms. Chandler or anyone else that would like to answer.
So I'll start it, and then if Ms. Cahoe wants to take it, that's fine. The Friday classes, the synchronous portion in the morning will be provided. I want to answer the question correctly. I'm sorry, I'm going to look. Will be clear. The asynchronous piece of it. So the synchronous piece is the class meeting at the beginning of the day. The asynchronous piece of it will be on the content area itself. So reading will have an asynchronous video or a lesson for the kids to work through, or a game for them to play. Perhaps the asynchronous math lesson might be a link to an It's Learning video that they will watch. So that will all be from the It's Learning platform as well. And again, in a form of a playlist so that they can log on and go through the steps of that schedule of activities just straight through. And so any videos would be embedded in that.
Ms. Chandler, I think you did a great job explaining that. I just wanted to add one. It's sometimes difficult for us to speak about these platforms without being able to share our screens and show you. So I want to ease your mind a little bit with when teachers start at the beginning of the school year. When they're in team meetings, they have the function to be able to share their screen with their students. So, you know, even our early learners They're going to be able to show them exactly what they click on, how they get to each content area, how they submit assignments. All of that we will give direction, along with the county is putting out some resources for parents of using the technology and how to support your students using its learning. But our kids are pretty savvy with anything technology. I know, most of our early learners know more about the computer than I do. And their memories are, they just catch on so quickly. So it'll only take a few times of us showing them how to navigate. And a lot of our students have already learned how to navigate its learning while they were with us in the school building. So many of them do have that experience. Did we answer both pieces of that question, Ms. Walker, or was there something else?
Well, there's a component to the third part of the question from Ms. Hill. If for some reason our little ones do not do well with synchronous learning, live chats are being fidgety, would it be difficult to switch to an asynchronous format if we wanted to address that?
And that I just found out information around that today. Another very good question. So the answer is there's going to be a deadline. I don't know what that deadline is going to be. I imagine it's going to be fairly early in the school year, because we have certain staff that is dedicated to those that signed up for asynchronous learning in the original survey that was probably a month and a half ago. So I do anticipate we are going to be reaching out in some fashion back out to the community to make sure that those that checked asynchronous are committed to that. I will tell you, I have been in touch with many families that have said, I was very confused, which we completely understand. The word synchronous and asynchronous was new to us March 13th when we went into closure. We weren't using those terms at all. So I have had many families reach out to me and say, I picked asynchronous, but I wasn't sure of the difference. I really want my child to be sitting and learning directly from their classroom teacher. Can I switch out of asynchronous and go right with my classroom teacher? That switch is not an issue because the classroom teacher is expecting her full class and is ready to teach their full class. Switching the other way is going to be an issue because we have specific people that are going to be designated for supporting those students in asynchronous learning. So there will be a cutoff and that will be coming out through Harford County.
Mrs. Bosley, I can add on to that about the little ones too.
Great.
So I know you said about the fidgeting and the inattention, and I know it can sound daunting to put a small child in front of the computer and kind of expect them to sit there and stare, but I can also assure you that the curriculum teams this summer and the teachers that are working on this, they know that and they know the development of students. So a lot of times in that 15-minute mini lesson that they're getting, they will be jumping up and cheering or chanting their sight words and clapping or jumping up and down or yelling out. So they will have a lot of those times that are just the same as in the classroom where they can't sit, that they'll be able to do that at home. So I hope that that helps a little because it really does sometimes seem like they'll be sitting there, and we can assure you they will be so involved and excited.
Ms. Cahoe, going along in that same vein, the Stewart family asks, will there be any differentiation in the instruction or will the class be doing the same thing? So if you don't mind, I can kind of speak to this one.
Sure, you can speak.
So with the schedule and the way that the schedule has been developed, the whole class will receive a certain amount of time where everyone is receiving instruction from the teacher, but the majority of the class time delivered synchronously will be in small groups that are differentiated based on students' needs. So they won't be doing the same thing at the same time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Walker. That's a good question too, because we do that within the school day, and we certainly want to make sure that we're doing that virtually as well.
So another question that kind of goes back to the asynchronous versus synchronous. What if only one day or for a part of a day you can't have your child on during the live time? Will this affect them, or is their ability to do that work on their students' own time or when the parents get home from work or after dinner on the weekends?
So are we talking maybe like a consistent time? Well, I'm going to go with that because that would be probably, you know, appointments and things like that are going to come up.
And that's what the question says. What if one day you can't have your child on during the live time?
Sure. Okay, good question. So there will, it'll be very similar to if your child missed a half a day of school because they had a doctor's appointment or they weren't feeling well that day. That will be an opportunity, and there is an attendance that students, and all of that information is going to be posted for you. The teachers are going to go through it with the students. They do have to check in to say that they're present for the day. Don't worry about that yet, though. That's coming later, and it's a very easy process. So if they are absent and you send an email in letting them know we were absent for this time, the teacher is going to do the same thing that they would do for the child if they were absent, if we were in the school building. There is time and the teacher schedule that they can reach back out to individual students if they need to. There's also time on Fridays. During that asynchronous learning, if a child missed 3 days because they had the flu or something like that, there is time built in on those Fridays when the students are participating in asynchronous that they might reach right out to that family and say, this is the perfect time. I need your child to log on with me for 45 minutes so that I can catch them up on what they missed. So again, that communication with the teacher is what's going to be key so that she knows exactly what was missed and what you need support with. And they will be able to see that from their end as to who is participating in the meetings. If a child is consistently not logging on, and let's just say a scenario, both parents are working, someone is coming in to watch your child, you're not there with them, and they're kind of choosing, I'm not logging in, you know, I'm going to skip today and not log in. The teachers are going to do the exact same thing again that they would do if we were in school. They're going to reach out to the parents and say, I need to give you a heads up. So your child has not been on for several days. Can you please tell me, are they ill? Can I help in any way? What supports do you need? And move on that way.
Thank you, Ms. Bosley.
You're welcome.
We have 2 questions, and I'm going to open this up to whoever feels that they want to answer. Both questions are about IEPs and speech services. How will IEPs be addressed and accommodations be provided? And also, how will services such as speech work?
I can answer, but I feel like I'm dominating. Does anybody else want to address that question?
I can address the question, Mrs. Bosley.
I knew she was going to come on. Let me put Mrs. Sharp's face on for you guys. Did you turn your camera on?
Oh, that might help. Sorry.
All right, there she is. IEPs, how we're going to address, and speech services.
So I'll start with speech. It is being worked out where, because speech services have a lot to do with that face-to-face interaction, being able to see how the speech pathologist forms her mouth or forms words or just that articulation and that language piece. They are, the special ed office is working on a schedule or a protocol where a child can come into the building and work one-on-one with that SLP. That has not been mandated yet, or that's not, in solid stone, but that is being worked out. We are in constant communication with the special ed office, just to, make sure that we're staying up with the current information and MSDE, and also our speech and language pathologists who keep us informed with every decision that is made. So if that can't occur, what will happen with speech is there will be a link that the SLP will send out to the family to get onto a Teams meeting or some type of platform where there is a face-to-face interaction and they can see the child's face, the child can see their face, and they can provide those services. As far as special ed, our special educators are working side by side with the general educators that they're co-teaching with to plan instruction that is explicit either to that grade level or to the child that is getting the services. Also, the paraeducators, our special education paraeducators, are also working virtually. So during that time that Ms. Walker explained that quick whole group mini lesson is happening live and synchronously, and then the remainder of that time you go off and you're working in those small groups, that is when those services are going to be addressed with the special educator or paraeducator or general educator who can provide those service hours specifically for that child's IEP goals. I hope I explained that clear enough, but that's the structure and how the special ed office has explained it to us. And I promise you, every single one of our special educators and our paraeducators, they are ready. They have been working just as hard, if not harder, actually, with the general educators and among themselves, just to make sure all their ducks are in a row and they're ready to go. And we are shifting back into not the IDLP, but the IEP structure.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? We have about 7 minutes, Mrs. Walker.
We have a question that says, sorry if I missed this question, but when will we learn if we're synchronized or asynchronized for instruction? And I'm thinking that everyone defaults to synchronous instruction unless you've contacted the school to let the school know otherwise.
Well, there was a survey that came out, and guys, I know that there has been quite a few surveys. It's hard to not use surveys as a county when we have to be socially distanced and all those types of things. But this was one of the first surveys that came out where you checked the box whether you wanted to sign up for synchronous or asynchronous. So that's how the list of asynchronous, and right now we have only about 53 children that signed up for the asynchronous. Again, I would encourage you, if you're confused, send me an email. I will certainly, or another administrator, we all have those lists, or you can call me at school and I will check that list for you if you don't remember what you signed up for.
Ms. Bosley, we have one more question.
Okay.
How much time should parents dedicate to their children's daily schedule? And I think this question might be asking, how much time should students be expecting to spend on the computer?
Well, according to the daily schedules that are posted, well, weekly schedules, I should say, that are posted on our social media sites and on the first page of our home school webpage, there is not going to be any homework assignments. So what your child is doing during the lesson, if they're synchronous and working with the teacher the teacher gives them any lesson. There might be a quick assignment that that child needs to do to demonstrate their understanding, meet in small group. Now that subject area is done. My assignment will be submitted and it should be able to be completed during that time frame, because there will not be home assignments or homework assignments, I should say. So the amount of time that you're going to need to devote, and I'm thinking in my head when you ask this question, you're thinking, I might be home with my child all day, but I'm working virtually. So I can't sit beside my child and prompt them on the computer all day long. We are going to work really hard to train your child so that they know how to navigate that It's Learning page, so that they need, even as young as our kindergartners, they need the least amount of help from you as possible. So, realistically, the first couple weeks, especially for our younger learners, I don't see our third, fourth, fifth, potentially even second, having a lot of struggles with being independent, because the teachers are planning these lessons not to the degree that they would need an adult sitting by them to complete the assignment. They are planning these lessons just like they would plan if children were in school sitting in front of them and there was only one adult per 25 children. So the idea is not for you to be sitting in a second grade virtual class with your child all day long. Our younger learners are definitely probably going to need your assistance a little bit in the beginning, just learning how to work their device, learning how to get on, those types of things. But I believe second to fifth grade is going to be in good shape. If that happens to you and your child, that's one of the things that a lot of the presenters were focused on earlier on in the presentation. If that ends up happening with one of your child and you're kind of end up glued to their hip, then we need to work together and figure out how we can unglue you so that you can do what you need to do in your house and your child can continue learning. So if that happens, please reach out to us. We will help and support you in all ways that we possibly can.
One more final question. Will there be an option for band and orchestra this year?
There will. Yes. Yes, and you'll be hearing from Mr. Kelly about the details. There'll also be an option for chorus. So all three of those will be included in the curriculum, yes.
And then just to kind of end off our night on a wonderfully happy note, we did receive a virtual shout out to our WP OPR teachers and admin who are doing an awesome job of navigating all of us through that. So thank you, Ms. Hill.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Mrs. Hill. I want to reiterate, every single person who spoke this evening, these were tips for you and inside of, your homes, but that does not mean that we are not here. We need you to reach out to us as much as we need to reach out to you. And we need to hear from you, because if we're not hearing from you, then we don't know what additional support you need. So I'm going to take myself off and I'm going to go back and reshare my screen, and I'm going to ask Mr. Stump to take us on this last slide to reiterate that we want to hear from you.
Hello, everyone, and I'm back. So as you can see, we definitely want to hear from you. We are in this thing together, and just as everybody here has said, it's important to us that we work together. We're able to accommodate the best that we can. We're able to give you the resources that you need, answer the questions that you have. And speaking of that, any topics that you want to have discussed during our September 23rd meeting, if you'll be able to drop those in that chat box. And then what we'll do is we'll bring those up again during our September 23rd family engagement meeting so that we can address those questions and concerns for you. So hopefully we've been able to answer some of your questions that we started with on our first night tonight. I think it's been a great night. You all have been asking some excellent questions, and you're at the right place at the right time with the right folks. So, you know, we're a family unit. That's one thing that we have always strived to be on, and together, especially with our community. Some things to think about is that also our next meeting is on Friday, September 11th. These meetings will be approximately 30 minutes, and we want to make sure that we're cognizant of everyone's time. But again, we want to hear from you, so please drop those questions and topics in the chat box so we can address those for you coming up. And we'll finish out with Principal Bosley.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. So I'll leave this last slide up. We will advertise for this. Our September 11th focus will be on navigating the laptops, its learning, and Microsoft Teams. You know, hopefully, you know, everyone will have their device at that point, and we'll be able to field those questions. And just to reiterate what Mr. Stump said, thank you so much for tuning in to us tonight. We appreciate the questions, and we are going to download this and send out the link for all families that were not able to join in with us this evening so that we can attempt to keep everyone informed. And lastly, as we said earlier, we will also type up the questions with the answers and send that out with the link so you have that as a reference. Okay. So, have a wonderful, I think I have everybody on here. I can't end the meeting without seeing you. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Call, email, whatever you need to do. We are here, and we are most certainly in this as a team. Okay, bye-bye.